Fulmer is the marketing manager for C&T Publishing, maker of how-to books and products for quilting, fiber arts, and mixed media. Lisa is the owner of Lisa Liza Lou Designs, selling her own work and a variety of unique art and crafts supplies online and at shows. Today, Lisa is going to show you how to paint with wool. Now that sounds interesting. I'm delighted to welcome Lisa Fulmer. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Tiffany. Hi, everybody. So I just rearranged my studio last night, and so you see different crap behind me, so I apologize for the mess. What I wanted to show you today is a little bit of needle felting techniques that allow you to actually make a painting, and you're actually using the wool to punch into a background. So I'm going to show you some really basic steps, and I'm sure some of you have already tried. There's a clicker. Some of you have probably already tried needle felting, and you can do needle felting in a lot of different ways. What I'll do is I'll walk through the tools real quick. I want to set my clock here so I know my time. So needle felting is a process of combining wool. This is called roving. For those of you who don't know, it's really nice fuzzy wool. You can also get roving in polyester and silk and other blends. So if you're allergic to wool, don't worry, you can still needle felt. There are non-wool alternatives. And then there's a needle, and there's a single needle that's like this. Let me hold it against my white shirt. Maybe you can see it better. Okay, it's a single needle, and it's very, very, very sharp on the end, and it's barbed. And the tiny, tiny little microscopic barbs are what interlock the fibers to each other, whether you're felting wool to wool, or if you're felting wool onto a background. And the process of felting is just locking those fibers together. So I'll show you a quick example of a back of the piece that I'm working on. See how on the front I started these little white tufts, and on the back you can see where the wool is peeking through, where the needle has interlocked those fibers, and that's what helps it hang together. And so you can needle felt flat or dimensionally. You can needle felt dry or wet. I'm only going to be talking about dry needle felting today. And then you can needle felt with a single needle or a multiple needle. And Clover makes these really handy punches. And what's inside here is a series of 5 needles are inside, and it's a punching action. So that allows you to cover more surface area at once. And so that's what I'll be using today. Then as far as what do you punch into, there's a lot of different things you can work with. Clover makes these little brushes that are really handy to punch into as a surface to resist what you're doing. But you can punch on foam too. You can just get any kind of foam and punch right into that. So I'm going to show you how to take an inspiration photograph or painting and recreate it with wool, with needle felting. And it's really, really great because you can treat the wool with these little tiny, you can take it in really tiny little tufts and just kind of take the color and pretend like it's paint, and it's really forgiving. It's really easy to erase your mistakes. You just pull the wool right back out. You can tap it in really lightly to start so that you like where it's positioned, and you can just go for it. So for inspiration, Heidi, I did email you earlier, and then this morning I saw that you asked to double check. I did email you my inspiration photo. There it is. So pull that over to the side, people, and Tiffany, if you wouldn't mind leaving this up for just a couple minutes. So this is going to be my inspiration photo, and I'm going to show you how to kind of just very simply break it apart. One thing about needle felting is it is super, super easy to learn and super easy to navigate on your own with or without instruction. The instructions are great. I've got a giveaway later that help you come up with project ideas and ways of combining felt and wool into really fun things. You can do wearables and art and crafty things, all kinds of great stuff. This is a picture by Monet, and I really like working with Impressionist art as an inspiration photo because it's so fuzzy anyway. It's so fuzzy and light and fluffy. And so this is some agapanthus and some, what are those called? Lily pads. And so the way that you want to take an inspiration picture and break it down is first decide what your background color felt is going to be. Now I'll show you what not to do first. I was starting on this upside down piece. I was starting on this piece inspired by Starry Starry Night by Van Gogh, and I started on cream colored felt. And it's fine when you're working on the purple hillsides and the green trees, but when you get to the sky, it's really hard to fill in a lot of color and make the sky look the way you want it to look. So I actually probably should have chosen a darker piece of felt and choose the color that's, you know, most going to represent the background. Then it's easier to paint and place the wool on top. Okay, so that's kind of a mistake of maybe what not to do. So for this picture, the background is kind of greenish, kind of brownish, kind of purplish, and I'm going to choose a purple background. Okay, so what I'm going to do, bear with me one second while I switch gears. So I'm going to leave the picture up for just another sec. This is my big piece of foam, and it's just, you know, plain old foam that you get at the craft store, okay, that you use for like upholstery or something. This is my piece of purple. Let me move this into position. And so basically what I want you to look at is take the painting or the inspiration photo that you're using and divide it into very simple basic shapes, okay? So in the foreground, you've got some really simple shapes that are just ovals for the lily pads, and they kind of, to me, the background looks kind of gray. So I'm going to start with the background color and just put a few little shapes down just to make sure that I like the composition. And then you'll see the stems of the agapanthus. Now stems, you can work with yarn. That's the other great part about needle felting, is that, bear with me a second, you can also work with yarns. And the fibers of the yarn, you can work with plain yarn or kind of a textured curvy yarn. The fibers of the yarn will work just like the roving and tuck right in there. So you can get some more detailed lines. So I'm actually going to use this green yarn to create my stems of my agapantha. And so I'm going to begin with the lily pads, and I'm starting with the gray. And so here you go. I'm just taking, bear with me a second, just taking a little tuft of gray and I'm laying it down. And then you punch. And as you punch, I'm just going to punch a few pieces and then I'll hold it up for you. As you're punching, the needles are locking in the fibers so that they're stuck inside here. Now, if you don't like it, you can peel it right off. That's why you start with just a few taps to get it into position, and then later you can tap it in even more and really lock the fibers in. I have done needle felting on pillows, and I've punched it enough that it doesn't pull out and it sits on the sofa and it doesn't get wrecked. So I probably won't punch it quite as hard with a painting like this because it's going to hang on the wall and it's not going to get messed with. But you can choose, you know, how much you want. Just keep in mind, the more you punch, the more fibers disappear beneath the surface to lock in, and so you sometimes need to use more wool when you're punching. How am I doing on time? Quick little check here. Oh, okay, I think I have a couple minutes. I'll answer all your questions momentarily. By harder, I guess I just saw this question. By harder, it's not harder as it is more frequent is what I mean. Punch more. And yes, it's great for taking out frustrations. It's a really, really, like I said, an easy craft to learn, and it's very forgiving. So I really highly encourage everyone to try it because it's really fun. So I've lightly punched down my beginnings of my lily pads, and now I see some light purple in there. So I'm going to take some purple roving, and I'm going to very lightly just take a little tuft out. And I'm just going to, I'm not going to be exact. I'm just going to kind of position a little bit of purple on each lily pad. A couple little tufts. I'm just going to kind of position it where I like it. And just punch it down. And so I'm just kind of choosing one side of each lily pad to put a little purple highlight on. Okay, and then I'll punch it down more later, but for now I'm just lightly tapping. And then I see there's a little kind of an olivey green in that picture. So one thing I love about roving is that you can get it really nappy, and some of the really homespun wool roving, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a bright green, but it also has teal and caramel colored fibers running through it. So you get this really great variety, and it's also got these big chunky nappy clumps in it, which is really fun too. So a little goes a long way, especially at first when you're not tapping. So I'm just going to add a few little highlights of the green in where I like. And then what I'll do is I'll answer a few questions, and then while everybody else is demoing, I'll keep punching and get a little further. So see, I've just added a little green. Okay, and I got to tell you, Lorraine's in the room. She's my friend from Liverpool. There she is, Lorraine. She does beautiful, beautiful wool landscapes. I've seen a couple on her blog. They're just gorgeous, and she's very active in needle felting, so I encourage you to visit her blog. Maybe at the end of the show, she'll put her link up. So you're just going to keep going like this, and then when I get to the stems, I'm just going to lay the stems down approximately where I want them to be. I've got a picture. And you can, whoops, pardon me, you can just punch the yarn into place as well, okay, and create your little stem. Let's see if I can shine a light on that. Alrighty. And then you're just going to literally take each piece and break it into its most common elements. If it's circles, squares, a stripe, and just kind of try to see through the painting, and you'll, before you know it, you'll just be placing circles and streaks and squares on your background, and suddenly it'll blossom into a beautiful painting. I see a question about yarn. Absolutely. If it's a really nice nappy yarn, like some of the old-fashioned yarn that you use like on a Raggedy Ann doll's head, you know, perfect. It goes right in and you get a nice crisp line. No, I use both. The multi-needle tool I use if I'm covering a kind of a large flat area, but I like to use the single needle. I just dropped it. Here we go. I like to use the single needle when I'm working in 3-dimension, like if I'm creating a little cupcake or a little dog or a little animal. The single needle really allows you to felt the wool onto itself. And so like if you're doing wool beads, you can really maneuver with the needle, and you have to be careful because it's sharp. Let's see. Well, yeah, the word roving is actually the word for wool in this state. And you can get silk roving, wool roving, there's even some polyester roving. So roving is the actual fluffy word. Yes, the C&T books, thank you, Tiffany. What a great shill you are. There's a couple of C&T books. I have a link that I will give you right now because I didn't bring one into my home office. Here's one. Oh, I disabled the chat, so it'll come up in a second. We have two or three different needle felting books. One is called Fast, Fun, and Easy Needle Felting. It's got great projects, and another is from Indigo Junction, great projects, and you'll enjoy both the books quite a bit. They're both really easy to navigate. Angelina Fibers, oh yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous. Anything nappy and fibery and textury, cotton. I mean, you can mix in all kinds of fun things, and then you can embroider on top of it with ribbon or embroidery floss and really kind of accent it. Thanks, Lorraine Luchador. That's awesome. Yes, I will post them. Here's my first link for the one that I'm going to give away later, so you better stick around. Washing it, yes, if you wash what you've needle felted, that's a wet felting process, and it really changes the whole dynamic, and I don't have enough time to even talk about that. So the material that you felt into is felt. You can use craft felt that's polyester based, or there's some that's eco, that's recycled plastic. You can use wool felt, but you can even use an old sweater. I've taken friends' old sweaters and turned them into projects. So any sort of a wool or felt background is what you can punch into. So I decided to just work with one agapantha so that I could really play with it. I'm not done yet, but here's the progress that I made, like on the lily pads. One thing that is important to create something in the foreground is to set it off with a contrasting color. So I made sure to curve some white wool around the edges of the lily pads. And then with the flowers, the yellow flowers, that's where I started working with a single needle. And you can really, bear with me a second, I keep losing everything. You can really, whoops, there. You can really come in with a single needle and pull the thread and curve things around and create some more detailed lines. Another thing that I didn't mention is that you want to always punch straight. If you start punching too much at an angle, the needle is really fragile and it will snap. So you always want to keep your punching straight up and down. So that's as far as I got on my agapantha, and you can see what I did is I took little pieces of the roving and I used my finger like this to kind of curve it. I stretched it out and then I curved it around. And that's what created a little loop that I turned and created the little petals. So you can figure out ways to create the texture that you need by maneuvering the wool. Any questions? La la la. Recommend using a glue on the back of the design. No, it's not necessary. You can see what the back looks like. All that I do recommend is that you pull, as you're working, pull your felt up off the background piece of sponge every now and then so that you're not completely felting into the sponge. So just give it a lift and kind of reposition it every now and then. Maxine, hi Maxine. Oh, it's nice to see you. Or see your name. You know, I'll probably, that's a good question. How long does it take to finish? Because I never know when to quit. That's my problem, is that I'll just keep messing around with it until it's probably ruined. So it's my challenge to not take too much longer. I'm going to say that I'll be done with this maybe in another hour. But needle felting can be very, very quick.